Dinghai Fusheng Records. Chapter 102. Divine Doctor. The leader of the Tile tribe, Shi Moken, had come as well. The cavalry that had migrated to Chi Le Chuan flanked Xiang Shu and the rest of them as they escorted them into the city. Chatter in various tribe languages filled their ears, the noise making Chen Xing's head spin, and there were even more people studying Xiao Shan and the rest a wolf-bay-child combination in astonishment. Send a notice to all the tribes. The first thing Xiang Shu did after dismounting was enter the royal palace to convene for a meeting. On the way to the city, Chen Xing had a quick glance and saw that many people had settled down, and he couldn't help but find the scene familiar. When Bai Zone passed by, a lot of people would bow as a greeting one after another. Che Lufeng had noticed Chen Xing the moment they entered the city. The fact that the great Chen Yu had brought back a Han stirred up a commotion amongst the people, and that made Che Lufeng very nervous. When he rushed back to the palace and met him in person, for some reason, Che Lufeng detested this Han on sight, as if they were mortal enemies in their past life. But underneath all that irrational hatred, Che Lufeng seemed to hold him in a bit of respect as well. "He's my anda," Xiang Shu said to Chen Xing. "Leader of the Rurans, Che Lufeng. You two should get to know each other better." Chen Xing smiled. "Sure. Che Lufeng." Right after Xiang Shu returned to the palace, he settled Chen Xing down, went to inquire about some pertinent matters, leaving Che Lufeng and Chen Xing in the main palace to face each other. "You're a Han?" Che Lufeng asked even though he already knew the answer. "Yep." Chen Xing smiled again. While he crouched down to organize his luggage, he said, "A weak, fragile Han. Anda, has your stomach been hurting recently?" Che Lufeng. Chen Xing said with utmost sincerity, "I'm a physician. You don't look too good, so I thought you might be suffering from some abdominal pain." Che Lufeng wasn't feeling anything at first, but now that Chen Xing said this, his stomach suddenly started hurting a little, as if it was being held in someone's grasp. The color of his face alternated between green and white for a while. His lips parted a little, but no words came out. I'm not your anda," Che Lufeng took a step forward and said coldly. "You and Shulakong, how did you two meet?" Chen Xing was checking his medicinal bag. When he heard this, he stood up straight. Che Lufeng reached out a hand, wanting to lift Chen Xing's chin. "Go away." Xiao Shan stepped out from the side, knocking his gleaming claws against each other. There was a scarf wound around Xiao Shan's neck. His upper body was bare, and his skin was a little tan now too, his figure vaguely resembling that of an adolescent's slim, muscled body. He was wearing a pair of trousers with a long skirt made out of fur tied around his waist. Before Princess King he had left, she had helped him tie his hair into a braid as well. Xiao Shan bared his canine teeth at Che Lufeng. Aside from Xiang Shu, he never let others get too close to Chen Xing. "Che Lufeng, what are you? You're the one who should go away." Che Lufeng didn't know why, but he was terrified of the child who barely reached his chest in front of him. His words came out a lot less threatening than they were supposed to be, and he even took half a step back involuntarily as he lashed out with a trembling heart. "Be polite," Chen Xing said to Xiao Shan. "How many times have I told you? You can't gut someone whenever there's a slight disagreement." Xiao Shan stood in front of Chen Xing to block him from Che Lufeng. He raised his claws, pointing domineeringly at him as he said, "Back up, or I'll slice your head off." Che Lufeng immediately lost his cool and roared, "Who do you think you are? Get the hell out. This is my territory." Chen Xing was about to speak when Xiao Shan shouted back at an even louder voice than Che Lufeng, "The one who should get out is you. This is my territory." Xiao Shan said coldly. "I'm the descendant of Hu Hanyi, Yaito Zishan. Who do you think you are, you Ruran?" As he spoke, Xiao Shan grasped a jade-carved tooth with a crimson root wrapped in gold and showed it to Che Lufeng, threatening, Do you recognize this? Chen Xing. Che Lukfen was taken aback at once and took another step back, because Xiao Shan was holding the golden plume dragon tooth in his hand. The golden plume was bestowed by Emperor Yuan, while the dragon tooth was in the possession of the great Chanyu Huanyi. It was a representation of the direct descendant of the Xiongnu's royal family, acknowledged by all the Hans. It wasn't Chen Xing's first time seeing this. Xiao Shan had always been carrying it, but the Hu had always had a bunch of straight, bizarre decorations. King Akele had even been covered in necklaces, beeswax, and other such accessories, so Chen Xing never questioned it. You're a great Chanyu too. Chen Xing was absolutely baffled as he asked Xiao Shan. He thought to himself, crap, they're probably gonna start fighting. Both Xiao Shan and Xiangshu were great Chanyus. If they really were to start fighting, who should he help? No, Xiao Shan said to Chen Xing. I'm a Chanyu, a small one, the average kind. A small Chanyu or an average Chanyu? Che Lukfeng reacted at once and asked through gritted teeth, you thief, where did you steal that from? At that moment, all of the leaders of the various Gle Chuan tribes arrived. When they saw the confrontation between the two of them, they could guess that the headstrong, irascible Che Lukfeng was finding trouble with someone again. Just when they were about to mediate between them, the Xiongnu leader saw the token Xiao Shan held and immediately exclaimed in surprise, where did you get that from? Within an instant, all of the Xiongnu tribes crowded around Xiao Shan. Xiangshu had come as well. He glanced at Xiao Shan, saying, you finally couldn't hold it in anymore and decided to return to your tribe. Chen Xing thought, so you knew all along? Other people might not have been able to recognize the golden plume dragon tooth, but Xiangshu was the great Chanyu, so he should have known. Xiao Shan answered, your Enda was bullying Chen Xing, otherwise I wouldn't have said anything. Che Lukfeng. The place where you stand was built by my ancestors. Karakoram was the capital of my Xiongnu people. If it wasn't because Luhan Chanyu gave you Rurans your freedom, you guys would still be our slaves today. Within an instant, everyone in the palace felt a little ill at ease. The Ruran people did used to be the slaves of the Xiongnas. After Hu Hanyi's reign, the Rurans only regained their freedom after Luhan Chanyu had released them. Xiangshu ordered in a low voice, shut up. I don't care if you're the Chanyu of the Xiongnas now or not, Xiao Shan, since the Xiongnu has entered the ancient Gle covenant, they must obey my orders. Forget it, Chen Xing said. It's okay, Xiao Shan. So, Xiao Shan stopped talking. Xiangshu glanced at Che Lukfeng, reproach obvious in his gaze. Che Lukfeng was obviously stupefied by this sudden turn of events and couldn't snap out of it for a moment. Xiangshu raised his hand to stop Chen Xing from speaking, then continued, whether they recognize your status is a matter of the Xiongnu tribe, I won't meddle in it. But now, since you're all in the covenant, foreign enemies are threatening our borders, so we must let bygones be bygones and fight against them together. Or would you like to leave the city and fight them yourself? Xiangshu asked Xiao Shan. Although his tone was strict, it didn't hold the least bit of contempt or threat, and he instead sounded more like an authoritative father figure. Chen Xing was about to smooth things over when Xiao Shan nodded, saying, as long as your Ruran Enda doesn't bully Chen Xing, I'll naturally let him off. Che Lukfeng's expression couldn't get any worse. Xiangshu could only pretend not to see it and said, everyone should give their reports. It won't be too late if the Xiongnu were to verify your status after they return later. After a short moment of quiet, Shimoken, the leader of the Tile tribe, coughed a few times to break the awkward silence. A month and a half ago, we received the letter sent from Chang'an by the great Chanyu, and we've made preparations for countering the enemy. Sure enough, Shi Hai's subordinates had attacked Gle Chuan in advance. Fortunately, there were no drought fiend kings in the battle this time. 12 days ago, a large number of animal bones had rushed out from the Yin Mountains, and with the fiercest animals in the lead, they attacked the camp under Qi Li Chuan set up by the various Hu tribes. Chen Xing made a quick guess that it had happened shortly after Shi Hai escaped Chang'an with the Drought Fiend Kings. It had been a moonless night. Thousands of monsters had roared as they trampled through the Cheval de Frise and rushed into Qi Li Chuan. Fortunately, because of Xiangshu's warning, Shi Moken had made preparations beforehand, and they did their best to fight back. Once they realized they couldn't win against their opponents, he immediately led everyone to retreat as they continued to fight and had fled Qi Li Chuan. But in the middle of their escape, another group of drought fiends had appeared. Strangely, this group of drought fiends didn't attack them, and instead aimed for the army of bones and gave them cover as they engaged in a fierce battle with the army of animal corpses. When Chen Xing heard that, he immediately knew where that drought fiend army came from. It was Yuduo, the one who was determined to seek revenge on Zhou, that led the dead defenders of the Akele tribe. Then, Shi Moken concluded, that was what happened. Che Lufeng's gaze wandered a little. When his eyes met Xiangshu's, he looked away, and instead he shot a few suspicious looks at Chen Xing. Chen Xing asked Shi Moken in the Tile language, was anyone hurt? Shi Moken nodded slightly. A portion of the Ruran troops. They've all been settled down. Chen Xing stood up. I'll go take a look at them. Xiangshu said, get them to come over, you should stay. All the tribes will take turns to stand guard. Shi Moken, dispatch the Uyghur troops to scout out for the enemy's whereabouts. Xiao Shan. When Chen Xing left the Xiangnuk palace, he looked for Xiao Shan and said, I'd like to ask Bai Zone for a favor. Where's Sima Wei? Xiao Shan pinched his fingers together and whistled to summon Bai Zone. Chen Xing gave Bai Zone a map of Sibei. Bai Zone said, I recognize all of it. What do you want me to do? Take Sima Wei to Barkal Lake. Chen Xing then said to Sima Wei, who had walked to his side, I need you to protect a family for me and make sure they return safely to Karakoram. They should already be on their way there now. Sima Wei nodded and left without asking any questions. Chen Xing suddenly realized that Sima Wei was a surprisingly good asset. He was a drought fiend, so the drought fiends wouldn't notice him and instead regarded him as their comrade. Plus, he was pretty good at fighting, and usually didn't have any will of his own and would do whatever you told him to. Thank you so much. Chen Xing helped Sima Wei wear a Akele helmet they had picked up, and so the towering ex-Han prince seemed like a completely different person. Sima Wei said, you're welcome. This guy was like a loyal and reliable guard that was at Chen Xing's beck and call. Also, aside from Chen Xing himself, no one else could kill him, so he just needed to be careful about getting discovered by someone else. What did Sima Wei usually think about? Sometimes, Chen Xing couldn't help but wonder. But he couldn't even figure out what Xiangshu was thinking, let alone a drought fiend king, like right now for example. The next day, Chen Xing started treating patients in Karakoram's palace. After all, he remembered that there were a lot of people in Qi Li Chuan who were ill the last time he came. So, aside from treating the injured Hu soldiers, he would resolve the ailments of Xiangshu's people on the side as well. Do you need a translator? Xiangshu watched from one side as he asked. Chen Xing smiled. I can somewhat understand them. So, Xiangshu took the initiative to help Chen Xing dispense the medication. The medicinal ingredients were all spread out on the floor in the palace. Once in a while, he would glance towards Chen Xing. Sunlight streamed into the palace. Half of Chen Xing's body was enveloped in the light spilling through the open dome above the palace, and the concentrated look of his side profile appeared even more elegant in the light. Shi Moken was looking at a map in the palace, marking out several paths where he had dispatched the scouts. He looked up at Chen Xing, then glanced at Xiangshu, a hint of a smile evident in his gaze as he nudged Xiangshu. Shulakong. Shi Moken said with a smile. Xiangshu ignored him. After measuring the ingredients, he got up and brought them to Chen Xing, then passed them to his tribesmen. He sat down, legs crossed as he listened to Chen Xing's instructions. Chen Xing merely glanced at the patient before writing down the prescription on a piece of paper. "Xiang Shu, you only took one look." Chen Xing said, "One look is enough to tell what kind of ailment it is." "Xiang Shu, you didn't even look up just now." Chen Xing said, could hear it through their voice. "Come, I know you're expecting, you'll be fine after taking some medicine for miscarriage prevention." "Xiang Shu, you didn't even look up, but you can tell she's expecting from her voice alone. Why else do you think I'm called a divine doctor?" Chen Xing was secretly amused. He could still remember his past treatment experience, and he could recognize a bunch of the people who were in the queue. When prescribing medication, he didn't even need to think twice. There was a pregnant lady who had left a deep impression on him, and this time, he saw her at first glance. "Xiang Shu." "Chen Xing, do you have a problem with that?" Xiang Shu didn't know how else to comment on Chen Xing's medical expertise. Chen Xing continued, "Fetch me the medicinal bowl, then fill another bowl with water." So, Xiang Shu could only get up and busy himself. The tribesmen watched as their great Chan Yu, the one who commands all and the number one warrior beyond the Great Wall, willingly listened to the orders of a Han man. It was as if they were looking at a Xiang Shu they've never known before, so they couldn't help but find it a little amusing. After the entire afternoon had passed, Chen Xing finally finished seeing all of the patients. He got up for a quick stretch and realized that the sun had set. Then he said to Xiang Shu, "Why don't you guys have a physician? Some of their ailments have been dragging on for too long." "Doctors wouldn't come to the plains," Xiang Shu said. "There are barely even any Hans, they don't want to cross the Great Wall. Only old shamans would treat us every once in a while, but they can't differentiate between most medications as well. When you were looking for the medicinal ingredients, some had been noted down by my mother, and that information was passed down." "Your mother was a doctor?" Chen Xing realized that he had rarely talked about Xiang Shu's parents with him. Perhaps it was because Xiang Shu always looked like he wasn't willing to reveal much whenever the topic of his family came up, so Chen Xing never probed too deeply into it. Xiang Shu thought about it, then shook his head. He casually answered, "No, she just knew a little about pharmacology. After she married my father, she transcribed a great deal of books on medicine, astrology, the 4 seasons and martial arts. Our tribesmen then learned a bit about them little by little." Chen Xing pondered on that in silence. He suddenly saw Xiang Shu weaving something casually and glanced over out of curiosity. It was a few strands of silk like saffron, which were unconsciously being twisted into a rope by Xiang Shu and had lengthened considerably. By one side was a silver plate that had several glossy, oval-shaped mica that looked just like pearls. While talking with Chen Xing, Xiang Shu picked up some cinnabar from the medicinal box to color the rope made of saffron, as if he wanted to make a red rope out of medicinal ingredients and thread it through the mica to make a bracelet like the moonshell bracelet. "What are you doing?" Chen Xing asked. When Xiang Shu heard his question, he realized what he was doing as well. He looked down at his hands, his slender fingers still stained with the color of cinnabar, answering, "Nothing much, just playing around 'cause I'm bored." "Are you trying to weave something?" Chen Xing asked in a daze. No, Xiang Shu seemed a little ill at ease. He quickly set aside his things, not understanding why he would weave a red rope out of instinct either, and even wanting to thread it through the mica. "Do you want to give this to him?" That Bei appeared out of nowhere, saying, "Then give it to him." "Xiang Shu." Chen Xing, shut up. How is it any of your business? "Xiang Shu, this has to do with you." Chen Xing walked over and knelt down beside Xiang Shu. He looked down at the crudely made bracelet, then looked up at Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu's gaze looked a little uneasy. He thought about it, then when he was about to speak, a figure appeared outside the palace that blocked the light of dusk. Both of them turned around at the same time and saw that it was Sima Wei's tall figure carrying a half-dead man inside, who then bent over to put him on the floor. It was a man with grey hair. Several necklaces hung around his neck, and his face looked like it had been through the vicissitudes of time. There were many slash wounds on his body, and they were all turning black. Xiao Shan was following from behind and ran in like a gust of wind. King! King Akele! Chen Xing cried out in shock. You know him? Xiang Shu asked, astonished. Chen Xing, quick! Prepare the medicine for him. Bei, oh no, he looks like he's about to die. Shut up! Xiang Shu and Chen Xing shouted at the same time. That man was King Akele. He appeared to be seriously injured, yet he was still conscious. He was murmuring in ancient Xiongnu language as he continuously called out Yuduo's name. Xiang Shu quickly conversed with him in the Xiongnu language. Sima Wei said, I found him to the north of the city. Chen Xing sent Sima Wei out to protect King Akele and his consort, yet Sima Wei brought him back. According to Sima Wei, after he set out with Bai Zone yesterday night, he found King Akele in a forest. When Chen Xing described King Akele and the consort's appearance to Sima Wei, he didn't expect much, yet Sima Wei actually managed to bring him back. I'll try looking for his wife again, Sima Wei said. Was he alone? Chen Xing asked in disbelief. Sima Wei nodded. I'll continue searching in the direction of Barkle Lake. Chen Xing thanked him profusely and Sima Wei left again. Xiang Shu helped grind the medicine at once while Chen Xing started on his acupuncture treatment for King Akele. Looking at his wounds, he must have been seriously injured for nearly 5 days. He didn't know what kind of willpower had supported him as he left Barkle Lake and walked towards Karakoram alone. Medicinal soup, Chen Xing said. Xiang Shu brewed the medicine and Chen Xing fed it to King Akele. Xiang Shu frowned. When his son was alive, he had a dispute with Zhou Zhen over Shui Cao and they died then. Chen Xing knew about that. In that case, King Akele might have discovered Yudu's trail and left Barkle Lake to head south to search for his son, and got assaulted along the way, which was why he was in such a situation now. And after Yuduo left, he chased Zhou Zhen to Chi Le Chuan and attacked the White Bone army from behind. King Akele? Chen Xing said, hold on. Don't sleep. Xiang Shu, talk to him. King Akele was on his last legs. He lost too much blood, so if he fell unconscious, he probably wouldn't be able to wake up again. Chen Xing had prepared a medicine for him to strengthen his heart, and after feeding it to King Akele, he began coughing violently. Fortunately, King Akele had drunk most of it, so they just needed to wait for the medicine to work. Do you need help? The phoenix appeared again. It flew down from above and stopped by the bed. What exactly did you come here for? Xiang Shu asked, baffled. Why would this bird always ask the same question whenever it appears, and Chen Xing would always answer no need. No need. Chen Xing knew that King Akele had a strong constitution, and an even stronger will to live. Moreover, nothing vital was injured, so he resolutely rejected Chongming's proposal, saying, at least not now. Aya, my lord. That Bei saw Chongming and immediately floundered out from a corner. With its short legs as support, it started kowtowing to the phoenix. Humble me is a Bei from the Yin Mountains, I've been cultivating for 100 years. The phoenix casually waved its wing and blew that Bei out of the palace. When you do need me, it might be too late, the phoenix reminded Chen Xing. Chen Xing said, I'll take note of the timing. If it's truly hopeless, I'll call for you straight away. Fine, the phoenix said patiently. Guowang will wait. At that moment, Che Lufeng came in. He had clearly heard the news that King Akele had been brought back. Night fell. Che Lufeng entered the palace and glanced at King Akele. Chen Xing looked at Xiang Shu with a pleading gaze, and Xiang Shu nodded, signaling to him that he would handle it. He called out, "Che Lufeng." Che Lufeng didn't speak. He merely stared at King Akele with a troubled expression, then glanced at Chen Xing. Chen Xing was behind Xiang Shu as he made a clawing gesture, mouthing threateningly, "Watch out, our Chanyu can claw you to death." Che Lufeng. Chen Xing knew that Che Lufeng and the Akele tribe must have some deep-seated enmity, but now that Xiao Shan had appeared, this was now very important for the Xiongnu. That was because ever since the decline of Hu Hanyi's clan, who had married Zhejian, the Xiongnu had split into many different groups in the past hundreds of years. They had never stopped their incessant racket, so it was difficult to unite them. No powerful commander had appeared from any of the tribes to gather them together once again. And it was because of that that the Xiongnu were losing their dominance in front of the Ruren, Tile, and other such tribes. Now that Xiao Shan had returned with the dragon tooth, it was very likely that he would become the new leader of the Xiongnu in the near future. After Xiang Shu abdicated one day, he would even have the right to fight for the position of becoming the great Chanyu of the ancient covenant. This kid's martial prowess was so tyrannical that once the Xiongnu united, he wouldn't be pushed around easily by the Ruren and Xianbei people. "I'll be back in a minute," Xiang Shu said to Chen Xing, then got up and left the royal palace with Che Lufeng. Chen Xing watched them leave, then looked at the phoenix, before looking down at King Akele. "Don't sleep," Chen Xing whispered in the ancient Xiongnu language. "King Akele, you can hold on. You definitely can. Your wife is pregnant, and she's waiting for your return, and your youngest son hasn't seen his father yet." King Akele had been stabbed by a sword through his ribs, but luckily it had deviated a little from his heart. That wound was extremely similar to the one inflicted by a drought fiend king that had killed him the last time they were in Karasha, but Chen Xing firmly believed that since Fei Tian Ye and Princess King He's destinies had changed, King Akele would surely survive as well. "Child, my child," King Akele trembled. "I let you down. You do, when he was alive. I couldn't stop the Ruren, and after he died, I couldn't avenge him either." Chen Xing held King Akele's wrist. The warm light of the heart lamp was injected into his body to help him guard his heart meridians. "Who are you?" King Akele looked at Chen Xing. His lips, covered in a white beard, trembled as he said, "I saw Shulakong. My name is Chen Xing." Chen Xing touched King Akele's forehead and said in a soft voice, "Chen Xing, I'm a Han." A Han. In King Akele's body, the medicine was slowly starting to take effect, and he let out a boiling breath of air. Some color was starting to return to his face. "A Han, I see. Shulakong. Xiang Yuyan and Shulu Wen's son. Are you related to Xiang Yuyan?" "Same clan," Chen Xing said. At that moment, Xiao Shan had been released by the leaders of the Xiongnu tribes. Chen Xing shot him a questioning glance. Xiao Shan didn't look too happy after all that interrogation, but the dragon tooth was still hanging by his waist, so Chen Xing knew that meant that they had acknowledged his identity. But he was really too young, so it would still be a few more years before he served as a Chanyu. "Have you decided to take care of your tribesmen?" Chen Xing asked. Xiao Shan didn't respond and just looked like he was deep in thought. Chen Xing stroked his head. "Everyone has their own responsibilities to bear." Xiao Shan said, "The way you talk is really similar to Lu Ying." Chen Xing guessed that the Xiongnu people must be engaged in their own debates as well. Realigning their allegiance right after seeing the dragon tooth wouldn't be realistic in such a short period of time, so they would only treat Xiao Shan as a crown prince and nurture him that way for the time being. Xiao Shan probably wanted to give them the dragon tooth, but no one would dare take it. He felt that Xiao Shan would rather follow him and Xiang Shu as he'd feel freer being an exorcist. Chen Xing said, "If you want to take care of them, you'll have to learn from Xiang Shu." Xiao Shan replied unhappily, "I know. I'm 16, stop treating me like the kid you first knew." "Ah, right." Chen Xing remembered now. In addition to the 3 years from before, Xiao Shan was 16 now. When I left my master to go look for Xiangshu, Chen Xing smiled. I was 16 too. Through his observation of Xiao Shan, Chen Xing believed that even though Xiao Shan was still quite young, he definitely didn't present himself that way usually, and instead had a lot of visions for the future. He respected Xiangshu like he would a father, and would even imitate his movements subconsciously. Xiao Shan changed the topic. He motioned to Chen Xing to inquire about King Akele. Who is he? Why is he sick? Ah. It happened on the road, I guess. Chen Xing said, he's one of the Xiongnu as well, do you remember him? Xiao Shan's face was filled with doubt. The last time he saw King Akele, he was in a hurry and only managed to spare a glance. By the time he returned to Chi Le Chuan, the Akele tribe had been exterminated. After thinking about it for a long time, he finally remembered. Chen Xing recounted to him in detail how they had first met when King Akele took him to the north. After he finished listening, Xiao Shan suddenly looked hesitant. He grabbed Kangshan Yuli and glanced at Chen Xing. When Chen Xing saw his gaze, he knew what he was thinking about. Those eyes were just like that of Xiangshu's. If it wasn't for their ages, sometimes even he would think that Xiao Shan was Xiangshu's son. Do you want to protect his tribe? Xiao Shan asked, can I? I'll be back soon. Chen Xing knew that Xiao Shan didn't feel at ease having just Sima Wei protect them, and truthfully, he was a little worried as well. But there were no other reinforcements now, and he and Xiangshu had to stay in Chi Le Chuan to guard it. If it were Xiangshu, Chen Xing smiled. He would definitely do so too. Go ba. Xiao Shan nodded. I'll go kill Che Lufeng first, lest he comes to find trouble with you. Don't. Chen Xing immediately stopped him. Don't touch him, otherwise I'll be the one in trouble. Xiangshu would definitely think I instigated you to kill his Enda. Just go and return as soon as possible. I can take care of myself, or do you not believe in me? Xiao Shan hurried out. Chen Xing ran out of the palace and ordered, Xiao Shan. Remember what we talked about? Don't just kill anyone you want. Got it? Xiao Shan replied impatiently, then mounted a horse and left Karakoram. Chen Xing watched him leave, and after ensuring that he wasn't going to get rid of Che Lufeng, he returned to the palace at ease. King Akele's condition was gradually stabilizing, and he let out a breath of relief. At that moment, he suddenly recalled that King Akele's consort knew what happened to Xiangyuan beyond the Great Wall. When they investigated the Xiang family in Kuiji, the entire Akele tribe had already been exterminated, and everyone who knew what happened then had died, so the truth was buried along with them as well. Now that they could start over, should he get to the bottom of it? Thinking of this, Chen Xing suddenly got nervous. He said to King Akele, did you know the old great Chanyu, Shuluwen, and Xiangyuan? King Akele's breath was even now. As he lay on the bed, the lamp flickered, casting a shadow of his imposing figure on the screen. How did they meet each other? Chen Xing continued asking. King Akele, don't sleep, I have a lot to ask you. King Akele seemed to be lost in past memories before he slowly said, Shuluwen. Yes, Chen Xing said. Do you remember what happened? King Akele was silent for a long time. As he thought of the past, he said, Shuluwen I thought he'd be single forever and never get married. End chapter. Dinghai Fusheng Records. Chapter 103. Destined. In the purple-red color of the evening sky outside of the city of Karakoram, Antares appeared in the distance as it moved down the horizon. Xiangshu followed Che Lufeng, arriving on the stone tower located on the higher ground behind the imperial palace. Outside the tower, there was a half-withered big tree, which was said to have been planted personally by Wei Qing during his siege on Longcheng 500 years ago. You received my letter? Asked Xiangshu. Che Lufeng just stood in silence. Leaning against the tree trunk, Xiangshu gazed at the faraway horizon. "Who's that Han?" Che Lufeng suddenly asked. "Rather than his origins, you should be more concerned with Zhou Zhen's whereabouts." The last ray of the sunset enveloped Xiangshu's handsome face. Soon afterward, a myriad of stars appeared and filled the whole sky, illuminating the two men on the highland of the imperial palace of Longcheng. Shooting a glance at Xiangshu, Che Lufeng at once demanded, "Where is he? Who told you this information?" "We only found out the fact that those dead Akele people wanted revenge. Not once did Zhou Zhen show up, he never appeared." "He'll appear, one day or another," Xiangshu said in an indifferent tone. He moved away from the big tree and was about to walk over to Che Lufeng when he suddenly paused, seemingly recalling something vague. At that time, it seemed that he had been under this tree before, and seeing its other side, he felt that he had once been in this exact same situation. Countless disordered fragments of memories seemed to pour into Xiangshu's mind, causing him to just stand quietly there without a word. Anda, Che Lufeng, who couldn't hold it back any longer, finally opened his mouth and called to Xiangshu. However, Xiangshu just raised his hand, indicating to Che Lufeng not to interrupt him. "No. I'm not." It was as if there was a voice behind that tree that softly said, "I just happen to be an individual that is in line with the one in your mind, right?" Xiangshu turned around and went behind the tree, only to find nothing. His eyes appeared somewhat at a loss. "Anda?" Che Lufeng quickly came over and asked in a puzzled manner. Touching the tree trunk, Xiangshu slightly lowered his head and deeply frowned. When he finally glanced up at Che Lufeng, his eyes were filled with some sense of helplessness. "What's up with you?" probed Che Lufeng in a baffled fashion. Inside the resting hall of the imperial palace, King Akele said in a low voice, many years ago, Shuluwen used to be my Anda." When Chen Xing heard the sentence, he was stunned at once. You guys," Chen Xing said, "were you very close with one another?" King Akele exhaled a warm breath, which prompted Chen Xing to change the wet towel. He stammered in a mix of various Xiongnu ancient languages. Chen Xing couldn't really understand what he said and only managed to get the gist of it. Many years ago, King Akele and the Tile King had also made an oath to stand together in life and death. However, following the changes of water and pastures of the prairie, the relationship between the Teals and the Xiongnas became pretty much unstable. Over the years, the two tribes slowly became estranged from each other, and both Shuluwen and King Akele also gradually forgot about this matter as time went by. Or maybe, they actually remembered, but nobody took the initiative to bring it up. However, each time Shuluwen went for an inspection to the north, he would always bring his warriors to the Akele camp, staying there as guests for a few days, and the two of them would meet up with each other. "He liked the Han people," murmured King Akele, "and his son Shulakong is also quite similar to his old man. A well-educated and cultured Han whose heart is good and honest, a Han who is able to read, do calligraphy, paint, and play the Southerner's cheen, a Han who can recite poems and sing praises about the beauty of stars and mountains of the prairie. Together with that Han, they both wish to spend their whole lives together." Chen Xing quietly listened before saying, "That was why he fell in love with Xiangyuan." "Yes," King Akele said without hurry. "He fell in love with that Han woman the moment he saw her. During his childhood, Shulakong was just like his father. He liked the south and wished to go to Jiangnan. He wanted to go to his mother's homeland to find that Han person who was destined for him. That child didn't want to be the great Chanyu, and all he said was that the place where you Hans live is like a secret territory of immortals, a place where luxuriant flowers of all kind are in blossom, a paradise on earth with a stream flowing beneath a small bridge." Chen Xing laughed and spread out the damp cloth for King Akele. "In the future, you'll have a chance to bring your wife and child to visit our homeland." "Thank you," King Akele slowly answered. During Shulakong's time in the south, you need to look after him. I don't know why, but I always feel that we have been acquainted with each other. You are a good and honest child. Shulakong must have spent a great amount of time just to find you. In our Xiongnu people's way of speaking, this is what we call destined. Chen Xing. Under the tree on the high ground behind the imperial palace of Karakoram. Xiang Shu sighed and suddenly felt a bit tired, but Che Lufeng still persistently asked, "These days, I've always been waiting for you. I had thought that you would stay in the south and would never come back again." Xiang Shu returned to his senses and, shooting a glance at Che Lufeng, answered him with a verse from the prairie. Time spent with each other is ever fleeting, while a parting lasts forever. Even the wind will cease to blow, and the snow will one day thaw. Che Lufeng's complexion changed the moment he heard this. He knew the continuation of that verse was, in that distant south, in the land where peach blossoms are in full bloom, that is where I shall find my solace. Xiang Shu intended it to express to Che Lufeng that fate was under nobody's control, and thus, there was no need to go against nature no matter how good friends they were. It was not unusual for people to come and go. He just didn't expect for Che Lufeng to interpret it in a different way. "So, that is your destined one," Che Lufeng whispered in a sad tone. "Your place of comfort. What destined one?" Xiang Shu shook off some leaves as he casually patted the tree trunk. Che Lufeng said, "I remember. I've always remembered that year when you said you would go to your mother's native land. What about it?" A slight, barely noticeable touch of redness actually appeared on Xiang Shu's handsome face. He recalled that in the summer that year, after he learned that Zhou Zhen was together with Che Lufeng had asked him when he would get married. That afternoon back then, they had been fishing on the banks of Zaraskal River, and Xiang Shu's reply to that question was actually, "I will always wait for that person who is destined for me to arrive." "Do you even know what kind of person they are?" Dissatisfied, Che Lufeng inquired him then. "Could be a Han, or could be a person from beyond the Great Wall like us." Xiang Shu looked at the tranquil, glistening crystal clear water surface. The great river sparkled under the light of the sun, appearing similar to a vast dreamscape. "It doesn't matter where they come from or where they want to go, but they must be like my mother, a good-natured person who has read various books and also knows a lot of things, someone with a warm heart who has seen many kinds of unfairness in this world, yet they themselves still appear similar to spring breeze and peach blossoms." With a sullen face, Che Lufeng said, "So all in all, you are fond of Han people. And it's only because you heard too many stories that you fancy the Hans. Wait until I have become the clan chief in the future, and I'll bring you down south on a horse. Whatever you fancy, I'll get it all for you then." "You don't understand." "That is the one destined for me," Xiang Shu faintly replied. In the end, he got up and left, leaving Zhou Zhen and Che Lufeng by the river. Under the tree behind the palace of Karakoram, Xiang Shu was still immersed in his memories until Che Lufeng's voice sounded once again and brought him back to reality. At a loss, Che Lufeng looked at Xiang Shu with eyes full of sorrow. "It is that guy. You went south and came back bringing that Han, he's the one you were looking for. It was he who found me." Xiang Shu had wanted to tell Che Lufeng that without Chen Xing, he would have already died inside that dark, gloomy dungeon where no peach blossoms nor spring breeze could be found, yet, having second thoughts, he decided not to speak about this and merely told him about his ordinary days in the south. He finally said, "Fate brought us together. What you said is correct, and Chen Xing is the type of person I like." "No, he is the one I like." Che Lufeng said, "Oh? So, you've found your ideal person then? Do you want to marry him? There's still a chance he won't agree or else why are you still concerned and weighing all kinds of matters? And I remember that from when you were still a child, as long as you fancy something, you'll always spare no effort to get it. Looks like he hasn't responded to you yet." Stunned, Xiang Shu's brow knitted. He didn't expect that Che Lufeng's eyes were actually so keen that he instantly saw through his anxiety with just one look. "What's that got to do with you?" Because of Che Lufeng's words, Xiang Shu's mind became a mess. He felt slightly annoyed, and suddenly, he remembered the voice behind the tree. "I just happen to be an individual that is in line with the one in your mind, the person you feel is right, and the one you think you should marry, nothing more. You don't understand, you ought to give this ring to that one person who makes your heart pound uncontrollably whenever you see them, and you will always try to find more reasons to talk to them when you see them with someone else." Along their journey, Xiang Shu was often anxious for reasons he didn't understand. Whenever he wanted to, regardless of everything, confess to Chen Xing, this sentence would inexplicably echo in his ears. It was as if he had already been rejected in advance. Chen Xing was clearly the one existing in his heart since he was a young child, that perfect lover who made him dare to go through water and tread on fire together for their whole lives. Yet this thought was always lingering in his mind, as if warning himself over and over again that Chen Xing would definitely not accept him, and might even use the same kind of words to reject him mercilessly. He couldn't help trying again and again, yet he was unable to get a response from the beginning until the end. They had only known each other for a brief period of half a year, but Xiang Shu felt as if Chen Xing had already rejected him for a lifetime. This kind of feeling truly made him frustrated. Che Lufeng said, "Forget that Han Ba. If he likes you, he naturally will tell you. You just want to go south and live there, am I correct? I'll accompany you. Zhou Zhen is already dead. I don't wish to see him again. I'll gather my clansmen at once and follow you to leave Karakoram. We'll go to the south, to Jiankang, to Jiangnan. Order their emperor to give up their residence and make you the emperor of the Hans." Xiang Shu suddenly grabbed Che Lufeng's collar. "Anda." As Che Lufeng gasped for breath, Xiang Shu threatened him in a low voice, "Zhou Zhen was your lover. You must be the one who confronts him. Whether he's dead or alive, you still have to give your clansmen an explanation." However, Che Lufeng, who was almost ashamed into anger, pushed him away. "He has become like that right now? He's already not himself anymore, he's not even human." Xiang Shu got angry, "You still have to go and see him yourself. Send him away with your own hands." Che Lufeng's eyes were full of fear. Suddenly, a voice sounded from behind the tree. Chen Xing anxiously said, "I." Xiang Shu and Che Lufeng immediately separated, pretending as if nothing had happened between them. After being stunned for a moment, Che Lufeng returned to his senses and immediately exploded into a rage. "Han man, did you eavesdrop on us?" Che Lufeng pressed one hand on his saber's handle. However, at a speed that was hard to detect, Xiang Shu moved in front of Chen Xing and blocked Che Lufeng, before raising his eyebrows as a gesture for Chen Xing to speak. "I just want to tell you that King Akele is much better now," Chen Xing immediately said. "I didn't hear anything, I just got here. I can testify for him." Pulling Chen Xing's dog, the Bei who was currently walking their dog for them said, "He indeed just got here." "Xiang Shu," Chen Xing continued, "King Akele has something to say to you." Thus, after giving Che Lufeng another look, Xiang Shu calmly followed Chen Xing out. Inside the resting hall deep in the imperial palace, King Akele, who had regained his consciousness, stammered as he gave an account of what had transpired. Sure enough, the matter was related to Yuduo. Nearly half a month ago, the Akeles found traces that those living corpses had been marching down to the south. They were moving from Karasha toward their people's campsite on Lake Barkal. King Akele, who had been on full alert and ready to lead the clan defenders to defend their camp, shockingly discovered that the one leading the drought fiends was none other than his eldest son who was already dead and buried in Mount Karasha, Yuduo. But the objective of that group of drought fiends was not King Akele. Yuduo only took a look at this father from a distance before leading the group to Lake Barkal. King Akele immediately ordered the entire clan to leave the lakeside and evacuate to the highlands several li away while he himself rushed to the lake, only to find that Zhou Zhen had been casting some kind of spell, creating a shocking scene. "Did you see him?" Xiang Shu held King Akele's hand in a tight grasp. King Akele nodded. Back then, Zhou Zhen was using a rattle drum to summon thousands of bones of the dead from the lake, bones of cattle, sheep, elephants, panthers, even skeletons of birds. Then, as if they were waves on the lake, they rolled and rolled toward the lakeside before finally becoming a whole army of the dead. Chen Xing immediately remembered that the first time in Karakoram, Zhou Zhen had also resurrected those things. Turns out that they were originally summoned from the lake. No wonder. The graveyard in the Yin Mountains simply couldn't have had that many bones of the dead. And on the altar just behind Zhou Zhen, there had been something that looked like a small mound that was covered in animal hides. Yuduo attempted to rush to the island and launch an attack on Zhou Zhen, yet because he lacked manpower, he was repelled by the Legion of the Dead. It was just then, when Zhou Zhen saw Yuduo's group, that he wanted to catch them. In the end, King Akele couldn't hold himself back anymore and joined the fray to rescue his son. King Akele became the only mortal who witnessed this battle between the drought fiends and the dead bones. The scene was extremely weird. There was nobody shouting attack, only them biting and tearing each other apart. When Yuduo seized an opportunity to flee the battlefield temporarily, Zhou Zhen actually abandoned the altar on the island to personally give him chase. King Akele, who had been seriously injured then, tried his best to go to Karakoram, where he finally fell unconscious among the thickets in the wilderness. "Save Yuduo," King Akele pleaded. Xiang Shu frowned as he replied, "We have already sent scouts to search the wilderness." King Akele slightly nodded and fell into a deep sleep. Chen Xing knew that this wave of sleepiness was the effect of the medicine, and so, the two of them just let him have a good rest. After giving instructions to the guards, Xiang Shu returned to the resting hall with Chen Xing. The sky had already gone dark. After dinner, Chen Xing saw that Xiang Shu couldn't sit still, and he himself was also a bit anxious. The thing Zhou Zhen was guarding, what could it be? Xiang Shu asked, his brows furrowing. Chen Xing was also at his wits' end. According to King Akele's description, what Zhou Zhen had been personally guarding must be a very important thing. With approximately a zhang in length and about 6 or 7 qi in height, it was put on the altar looking just like a small mound. Maybe it was a carcass of some kind of animal? But now that Wangzi already has a legion of dead animals under his control, what else is Zhou Zhen preparing for? Maybe it's the remains of a Yao beast, Chen Xing conjectured. It's most likely going to be used to deal with Karakoram. When he saw Xiang Shu rise, Chen Xing hurriedly said, "You sit down first. I know that you are anxious about your clansmen, but right now, it's already pitch dark. Where are you going to look? What kind of Yao beast?" Xiang Shu looked at Chen Xing. "I don't know." Chen Xing frowned. Coincidentally, Xiao Shan and Sima Wei went in the direction where the Akele people are located, so maybe they can discover something. "Xiang Shu, your clansmen need you. You must not, absolutely must not leave Karakoram right now. Just don't go anywhere, promise me." Che Lukfeng getting corrupted the first time around was a scar Chen Xing couldn't get rid of and had made him imagine all sorts of things. However, as long as Lu Ying was still safe and sound, Chen Xing would rather stay where he was and wait for Zhou Zhen to come and attack the city. After going through the drought fiend chaos in Chang'an, Wangzi should be in dire need to fill the new army, and tens of thousands of brave and heroic Hu cavalry inside the city were practically the highest quality of supplementary materials for the drought fiend army. When Xiang Shu heard this sentence, he suddenly felt something and fixed his gaze on Chen Xing. Chen Xing, however, didn't notice his gaze and continued analyzing. Based on the description, the animal couldn't have been too big. Zhou Zhen has probably dug up the bones of some kind of Yao beast from its burial site. The silence of all magic lasted for quite a long time. The northern land surely also had had a lot of Yaoguai before. Though I am quite positive that our opponent is not a dragon, it's too small to be one. Still distracted, Xiangshu just replied with a hum. Chen Xing was already slightly tired. From the moment they returned to the city, the weather kept getting colder and colder at a speed visible to the naked eye. The temperature was quickly dropping as autumn got nearer, and the wind, which was rather bone-chilling, passed through the palace hall. "Sleep ba," said Xiangshu. Inside the palace, there was only one room cleaned out, and furthermore, nobody had lived in it for nearly 100 years. Since Chen Xing was already used to living in a tent with Xiangshu, he just took off his clothes and lay down on the simple floor. "You go sleep too ba," Chen Xing said. "Along the journey, you're the one who should have been tired the most. Moreover, after we've arrived in Karakoram, you also did so many things non-stop." After entering Chi Le Chuan, Xiangshu's mind had been tense the entire time, and only after he had entered the city did it gradually loosen up. Yesterday, he had first called in all divisions for a meeting. He had been busy all night long before finally falling asleep leaning against a corner of the palace, and only this evening was he finally able to lie down to have a good night's rest. With that, he also took off his clothes and went to lie down next to Chen Xing. "It'll be very cold at night," said Xiangshu. "Cold waves will hit, you need to add another quilt." And thus, Chen Xing stacked two quilts on top of each other and moved closer to Xiangshu. At this time, he suddenly realized that along the road, besides during their stay in Chang'an, they had been sleeping together the entire time. This was probably the so-called going out on the same carriage and sitting on the same seat. While the Hus might not mind this kind of behavior that much, for the Hans, only those who were childhood friends or those who had a deep relationship would do this kind of thing. Xiangshu gave a look at Chen Xing, signaling him to get more sleep. Not long after lying down, as bone-chilling wind leaked in from all sides, Xiangshu restlessly shot a glance outside the room. The wind was getting stronger and stronger, producing a wave of whooshing sounds as it tossed about the tightly closed doors and windows, and the lights in the hall kept flickering on and off. It was the complete opposite of the situation in Fujian's luxurious palace. "Life outside the Great Wall is difficult," Xiangshu suddenly said. "It's very different compared to Chang'an. Make do with it ba." Chen Xing, immersed in his thoughts, stared at the dome illuminated by the lights. The golden-colored paint had long since faded, yet he could still vaguely see traces of the former, glorious Xiangnu palace of Longcheng during its golden age. When he heard Chen Xing suddenly laugh, Xiangshu tilted his head and shot him a baffled look. As the two people's gazes met, Chen Xing's face flushed somewhat red. "Why?" After pondering for a while, Chen Xing asked, "Did you guys choose to live in Chi Le Chuan instead of moving to Karakoram Eni?" Chen Xing recalled that the Shulu family had a lot of money. If they had wanted to move to Karakoram and properly renovate the palace, they surely would then have a fixed place to stay and would not need to live a nomadic lifestyle anymore. Xiangshu replied, "Climate reasons." Chen Xing let out an ahh. After moving uncomfortably under his quilt for a moment, Xiangshu simply lay on his side facing Chen Xing. The other party, whose heart was currently skipping over, also turned his body sideways and used his own arm as a pillow. That was how the two of them, face to face, ended up gazing at each other. Looking at Chen Xing in the eyes, Xiangshu said in a focused manner, "In the land beyond the Great Wall, some periods can become very, very cold, even accompanied by snowstorms. We called the worst of them all the cold year. During that time, we can have up to 7 or 8 months in a year where we are unable to herd livestock." Ah! Chen Xing was completely astonished. Quite a number of livestock will freeze to death at that time. Adjusting his posture, Xiangshu followed Chen Xing's act of pillowing his arm and bent his knees. As he did this, his bare foot under the quilt accidentally bumped against Chen Xing. Not only was Xiangshu's foot big, but it was also very warm. The scorching heat emanating from his whole body made Chen Xing, who was brought inside its radius, feel warm amidst this bitterly cold weather. The river will freeze over, and the glacier will fall below the snow line, Xiangshu said, immersed in his thoughts. Hardly any birds will fly in the sky then. During the coldest period, even wild geese won't fly over the Great Wall. Is that so? Chen Xing actually had no idea about all this. That was why Lu Yuan crossed the Great Wall and traversed the pass 80 years ago with an intention to plunder, Xiangshu continued. The Xiongnu were the first ones unable to survive in such an environment. Furthermore, Karakoram is located in the wind gap of what had once been a wide river. Once a strong wind blows over, the cold will be as harsh as it is today. It's not suitable for a long stay. Chen Xing said, only Chuan, which is flanked by mountain ranges on 3 sides, can withstand the cold. Xiangshu affirmed. They all wanted to move to the south and traverse the pass to plunder Yuhan people. Chen Xing quietly looked at Xiangshu before asking, do you want to? What do you think? Xiangshu was slightly unhappy when he heard this and questioned him back. Chen Xing replied back, what I asked was, do you want to go to the south, not do you want to go plunder? Xiangshu. Chen Xing, I naturally know that you're not that kind of person. He could sense that Xiangshu also liked the south. In the future, I will take you to Jiankang, said Chen Xing. It will be completely different than the south you have seen before. How can you be so sure that I will follow you? Xiangshu casually asked him. Guowang, as the great Chan Yu, has to support many of his clansmen. It is not possible to just walk away from all that. Chen Xing said, you can just come as a guest. Xiangshu, isn't your family in Jinyang? Chen Xing pondered for a while and was about to give him an explanation when Xiangshu suddenly moved his left hand and exposed his little finger outside the quilt, causing Chen Xing to smile and hook his finger in return. Xiangshu looked at Chen Xing in the eyes as he said, your eyes are black, just like my mother's. Aren't yours too? Said Chen Xing. Your eyes you have a hint of gold in your eyes. Chen Xing had paid little to no attention to this before, but since the two of them were very close at this moment, he discovered that Xiangshu's inner pupils carried a touch of golden brown color, which was simply impossible to notice unless one was looking at them closely. Xiangshu's breathing became more labored as Chen Xing leaned in closer. Lowering his eyes, he focused on Chen Xing's lips, yet after a moment, Chen Xing's gaze caused him to feel slightly embarrassed. He then closed his eyes and turned sideways before putting his hand on his chest as he said, sleep ba. Shifting closer to Xiangshu, Chen Xing leaned against his shoulder, and Xiangshu, unlike before, actually took the initiative to wrap his arm around him. Still, the wind outside the palace sounded exactly like the sea breeze on the ship that day. As the wind blew over, Chen Xing couldn't help but feel a ripple in his heart. Chen Xing, who really wanted to move even closer to plant a kiss on the side of Xiangshu's face, practically exhausted all of his strength just to restrain acting upon this idea blooming in his heart. Things that had happened before seemed to be a mere dream of a fleeting life, yet all of them had indeed occurred, albeit a lifetime ago. Chen Xing didn't know when exactly Xiangshu began to have this feeling during their previous lives, but what King Akele had said today truly had given him a great shock. So Xiangshu, just like Tuoba Yan, had been looking forward to having a Han lover? That day during the autumn clothes festival when he rejected Tuoba Yan with such words, wasn't it the same as him rejecting Xiangshu? If he could turn back time, Chen Xing would certainly make it clear that it was not like that. And now, he wanted to give him a kiss to the point that he was even ready to face the consequences of being beaten up. Just give it a go, no need to say anything else. He would let Xiangshu make his choice afterward. But in the end, Chen Xing still didn't dare to make any move, and could only hate how he had become a coward yet again. I dreamt about many things, Xiangshu, completely unaware of Chen Xing's many thoughts, suddenly said, "Huh." Chen Xing had just made up his mind and was currently closing the distance between them when Xiang Shu's words interrupted his train of thought. Still with his eyes closed, Xiang Shu, whose eyelashes slightly glimmered under the faint light, continued to say, "The dream wasn't very on point, they were like the dreams I had when I was inside the dungeon. It's just that when I recall it, it feels as if it had happened even earlier. I can't remember it clearly, so I can't say for sure." "What did you see in your dream?" Chen Xing asked. A lot of things. Opening his eyes that were full of doubt, Xiang Shu turned to look at Chen Xing. "I dreamt that for some reason, I was chasing after you. I left Chi Le Chuan, but when I came back, it had already been burned down." Chen Xing. "I also dreamt that under Chi Le Chuan's ancient tree of oath of affection," Xiang Shu continued, "on that day after the autumn close festival when the snow was falling, you were also in Chi Le Chuan." Chen Xing's heart beat faster and faster. He remembered. Will he be able to remember everything? Chen Xing dared not interrupt Xiang Shu and just let him recall his memories. Perhaps, in this dark night with roaring cold winds to keep them company, Xiang Shu would suddenly be enlightened and would be able to recall all kinds of past events. But after waiting for a long time without hearing Xiang Shu's reply, Chen Xing slowly and cautiously probed, "What else any?" Xiang Shu thought out loud, "I also dreamt that Tuoba Yan gave you a ring. What exactly is going on?" Chen Xing thought, "It's really okay if you remember other matters. Just how could it be, even after living another lifetime, you still can't forget eating vinegar from Tuoba Yan? When I was a child, my mother once said," after thinking for a moment, Xiang Shu said, "that in the northern land, there lived a dear god that guarded all dreams in this land under heaven. I don't know, maybe if I can find it, I can ask it for a clear answer. Forget it, let's talk about it again when we have a chance." Ba. Chen Xing recalled that Murong Chang's story was also related to dreams. When one's memory was clear, people would be able to remember the past, but when it was blurred, it would become a mere dream. Maybe Lu Ying can really solve it? The wind was getting stronger and stronger, and it felt comfortable to drift to sleep accompanied by its sound. Chen Xing, who had been running around for days, very soon fell asleep, and Xiang Shu was also no different. However, just before dawn, a loud clamor woke them up. "We have caught a spy!" yelled someone on the outside. Xiang Shu sat up at once, but Chen Xing's eyes were still bleary. A scout entered the room and saw the state of two men who had just gotten up. Xiang Shu, half naked, was blocking Chen Xing behind him. He immediately dared not look much and rushing to bow, he reported, "Great Chan Yu, we caught this guy in Chi Le Chuan." And thus, a trussed up Tuoba Yan was brought in. End chapter.